The big difference with a year ago, I would say, Terry, is that there's a lot of things that have happened in the armed forces and in the defense organizations. What hasn't happened is in our societies the understanding that it is more than the military that has to be able to operate in a conflict or in a war. It is the whole of society that will get involved, whether we like it or not. People find it a surprise and as a result buy a radio on batteries. That is great. It is part of the package that the Swedish government is talking about. You need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things. But it starts there. The realization that not everything is plannable, not everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow, but we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace.
Head of the army has said that tens of thousands of civilians must be trained and equipped to form a citizens' army in case Britain's dragged into war with a country such as Russia. General Sir Patrick Sanders, Chief of the General Staff, also publicly criticised the army's lack of funding and its failure to modernise. He's due to leave his post within 6 months, and The Times has reported that he's annoyed Rishi Sunak by criticising the decision to reduce the size of the army to 73,000 by the middle of the decade.
The Russian invasion has reminded us of that time-honoured maxim that if you want to avert conflict, you better be prepared to fight.
But I think most importantly what he's done is he's made people think the unthinkable about the threat of a major European war which the United Kingdom could well be involved in, an existential threat to the United Kingdom. That's what he's made us think about over the last 24 hours. Yeah, and that's not a bad idea in my view. If he'd done this 10 years ago, I would have said he was deranged. But of course, almost exactly 10 years ago, Russia annexed Crimea. Almost exactly 2 years ago, Russia launched a state-on-state major invasion of the Ukraine. And this notion of, state-on-state conflict in Europe in the 21st century, which seemed inconceivable a few years ago, now looks really quite possible.
Britain's military is developing a plan to build a force of up to 500,000 people to defend the country in the event of a full-scale war. The Chief of the General Staff, General Sir Patrick Sanders, says that he wants a regular army of 120,000 within 3 years, but that needs to be backed up with hundreds of thousands of trained civilians ready to fight a war. That is quite a contrast with the views of the Defence Secretary Grant Shapps. 10 days ago on this programme, we suggested to him that the UK might need a bigger army.
General Sanders has made no secret of the fact he thinks the British Army is too small. The current Conservative government has cut it to its smallest size in more than 300 years. And General Sanders made the point that over the last 30 years, the British Army has halved in size. He's made the point that he sees the current generation of soldiers as a pre-war generation, rather than living in what's been defined as the post-World War II, the post-war era. He talks about the pre-war era, and that was a phrase picked up by Defence Secretary Grant Shapps earlier last week.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'd probably sign up. No, actually, I'm not sure I would.
I wouldn't necessarily be the best.
To be honest, I'm not too sure.
I'd have to consider it. If we have to defend our country.
I'd be happy to help in some way, but not if that's anything else I could do to help. I'll be there. I'd want to fight for the people, you know what I mean? I don't think that people understand the mental health elements that people have to deal with afterwards.
I think what General Sanders was doing was quite deliberately entering into a discussion about, are we properly configured for a potentially dangerous future?